Hey, what's up? I'm KBHD here, and this is the 2022 GMC Hummer EV pickup truck. And this is not a normal vehicle. It's ridiculous in so many ways. So I'm gonna take you through it for a little bit. I've actually lived with it for the past, well, about a week or so. So you don't have to. And I think I've learned a lot about it. I think the number one thing I think about when I see this is, who is this for? What's the normal buyer of this absurdly huge utility focused Hummer electric vehicle? I have a lot of questions. I also have a lot of answers. Let's get into it. So first thing you're going to notice about this thing is it is absolutely gigantic. It is huge. It's really wide. It's really tall. You just saw the suspension lower. And it's really heavy. I think the craziest thing that I've noted about this on paper, the stat that sums it up the best, is the weight. Okay, so a normal car, a Honda Civic, weighs about 3,000 pounds. Then a Tesla Model 3, which has an 82 kilowatt hour battery, weighs about 4,000 pounds. That's pretty heavy, right? Then like the big boy, maybe a Tesla Model X with a 100 kilowatt hour battery, 6,000 pounds. You get the Rivian R1T, 135 kilowatt hour battery, 7,000 plus pounds. This vehicle has a 212 kilowatt hour battery inside. That's gigantic. That's the biggest I've ever seen. And the whole thing weighs 9,046 pounds. I'm gonna say that one more time. This weighs 9,000 pounds. I'll put the kilometers or kilograms on the screen. That's pretty ridiculous. There are actual roads in my neighborhood that I can't drive down because this vehicle weighs too many tons. So this whole time I'm thinking, like, what's the normal buyer of this? I don't have too many answers right now, but I think the main answer that I found out from actually driving it and talking to some people is people who drove, bought, and really liked the first Hummer, the H1. That's the closest thing to this. So I have done a video on the main channel just looking at the aesthetics. I had a very early prototype version looking at it. I'll be honest, it doesn't look too bad. You can check out that full video. I think the headlights look pretty sweet. I think there's a lot of good truck touches and good EV touches. But it just comes down to, like, when you live with this thing, you really realize driving it, parking it especially, it's huge. Okay, here's a couple things about it. Number one, this massive amount of space here between the top of the tire and the wheel well here. There's the canister for the air suspension, which is very malleable. You can jack up the truck really high or really low. Those are only 18-inch wheels, but it's a huge tire. Secondly, when you park next to someone, technically it fits in normal parking spaces, but you're gonna be so close on one side to the car next to you and so close on the other side to the car next to you that you basically have to make a choice about who you're gonna screw over and not be able to open their door, or just find a different parking spot further away. You're not gonna be able to park within a bunch of other cars in a tight parking spot. It's just not happening here. But again, with all that space and all that width, I guess there are some advantages. Now, first of all, I kind of got annoyed by this. You have to push it and then unlock it again. That's how you get in there. But let me open the front trunk. So of all the RR1Ts and F-150 Lightnings that we've seen, the H1 actually has the weirdest shaped trunk. It's very long and flat and narrow, which does mean it'll fit a good amount of stuff. You can fit a backpack in here. You can fit probably 3 or 4 duffel bags in a row. But like utility wise, I would rather have the F-150 Lightning's trunk, which is taller. It's a little bit lower here in the front to be able to get stuff into, and it has the power outlets in the front and things like that. It's still cool that this this massive thing opens up and lets you seal some storage in the front. Cool. But yeah, just something to know, like the vehicle is so tall and shallow and wide. So that's what you get. Now, there are no other complaints about storage. Everything else is huge and also very high up, but the trunk, as I'll show you in a second, is plenty large. These are also the keys. So looking pretty standard GMC key. Open that up, open the tailgate, huge bed in there. And this cover is also motorized. And unlike the Rivian, it doesn't sound like it's gonna break, even though it's huge. Got the lights up on the top here. And this is plenty of trunk, right? Obviously you get this bed for utility and you get to do a bunch of stuff in it. Here's your 120 volt outlet, or 110. Here's your stand for getting up into the trunk. And yeah, it's huge. It's very useful. No problems other than it being particularly high off the ground. So I either did not notice this or was not told about this, or it didn't exist in the prototype truck that I was checking out. But at the very end of the tailgate here, there's a little unlock you can pull to open this, and there is a full-on speaker system, a Bluetooth speaker system with an audio jack and a USB cable that you can plug into. What? This is like the ultimate tailgating speaker. It's not connected to the speakers in the truck. You have to pair to it separately. But yeah, that exists in case you now want to make this the ultimate tailgate vehicle. Is this one of those trucks that people buy when they don't really need a truck, but they need just a big tank-like fun vehicle that could off-road if you wanted to? I guess, probably. I mean, it's been very, very useful. Don't get me wrong. Once you get it parked, like having all this is great. I just think it would take a certain type of person to pick this over the less expensive F-150 Lightning. That's basically what I'm saying. On the inside here, though, I think honestly I can say this truck reminds me of a normal truck, like an F-150 or something like that, but just a little bit wider, just a little bit. The aspect ratio of everything, just the width of this whole truck, again, the windshield wipers, hilarious. But everything, like the door is thicker, the windshield wiper is squat and wide. This is far away, but you know, material-wise and everything, it's definitely normal truck. So normal truck steering wheel. Again, the layout of the screens is big screen in the center here, non-touch screen, and then large touch screen over here to the right. What I do really like about this setup, though, is these buttons. This is really good UI. I'm gonna say it like right here. So these aren't actually touch screens. You have regular actual buttons to control these things. That's really good UI. And then in the case of where you might want to expand something, you hit this and then you have multiple buttons to control that individual menu, and then you can make it go away by going like that. That is nice design. So I control fan speed here. That's easy. Nice animations. Everything works really well. I am a fan of this. You have a second row down here for your hazards, for your differential locks, which if you're doing a lot of off-roading is kind of convenient. Just good looks on this center dash. Also physical volume knob. Not bad. You wanna know what is crazy though? The menus, when you go through these, check this out. This is the mode dial to switch between driving modes, and look at the animations when you switch between driving modes. How video game they are. They literally look like a video game. And wait till you get to the off-road towing one. It's hauling an actual rocket. I don't know who made these or who designed these. Is that on the moon? I think that's on the moon. So it's got a lot going on when you switch between modes just by twisting this dial right here. That's Mars for off-road. Yeah, this is the type of person who's buying a Hummer, I guess, is the type of person who thinks they should be towing a rocket. This rearview mirror is a camera, which is on top of the bed, not the tailgate, so it's facing down a little bit, and you can go in here and change the zoom or the way it points further down or further up, but you can also flip it and turn it off, and it is actually a real mirror. I kind of like the camera, though. It works well. One more weird quirk, though. A lot of new vehicles I've driven, to remind you either to stay in your lane or to not hit something, vibrate the steering wheel. This car doesn't. It vibrates the seat, right in the middle of the seat. So it'll flash a red light and then bump you in the butt for some reason. I think I'd prefer the steering wheel. But driving this thing, as you can probably imagine, is truly hilarious. It does drive like a truck. The F-150 Lightning is a great counter example. It does have much bigger off-road tires. And so the differences you notice with this are, number one, even though it's the same width on paper, it feels wider. I'm not sure if the numbers on paper I'm seeing are correct, but it feels wider. Number two, nothing but tire noise. Tons of tire noise. When you accelerate and decelerate, the accelerating and decelerating sounds you hear are just the wheels, the tires spinning faster or slower. That's for sure. And then just knowing that this thing weighs 9,000 pounds, it is horrifyingly fast because it still picks up in a straight line like a fast car. It does 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Now, when it does this whole lurch thing, like the front of it really raises up and it lurches forward, but it picks up and it does the 0 to 60, and it moves. And it's kind of crazy that something that weighs 9,000 pounds has any business doing that. That's what horsepower will get you. Now, I will note that this does have pretty good one-pedal driving. When you take your foot off the accelerator pedal, it does slow down and can come all the way to a stop. But I noticed there's this single paddle shifter on the left. There's nothing on the right. There's actually some buttons back here for media controls. But this single paddle shifter, I don't know if this is a reference to the older Hummers, when you pull it, it much increases the regen. And so it'll show up on the screen here. So normally when you just take your foot off the accelerator, it'll slow down and it'll get you about 100 kilowatts back into the battery, which is a pretty good rate. But when you squeeze this, you slow down even faster and can put almost 240 kilowatts back into the battery. So it's kind of like this extra motor brake type thing happening here. And I kind of like it. But aside from that, you take off driving, it drives kind of like normal at medium speeds. And the number one game changer for this truck at low speeds especially is the rear wheel steering. It is the real deal. So this thing has a much tighter turning radius. I can turn around in parking lots and turn around in all sorts of spaces in very small spaces, relatively speaking. It also does have crab walk mode. Here's the crab walk mode, and I'll actually hold it down so you can see the ridiculous animation that plays to go into crab mode. And I have to hold it longer. It's a whole 5-second animation that plays. And I've now unlocked crab walk mode, and there's a little crab on the dash there. Cool. Then you turn the wheel, and you can see the wheels turning, and you can do the whole diagonal move thing. I'm here to tell you it is kind of a gimmick. It works, that's for sure. But I don't really see myself needing to do this all that often. Now, maybe this is because I don't off-road as much as some people. Maybe this is a particularly amazing thing while off-roading. But when you're using the four-wheel steering to maneuver, turning the wheels front and back in the opposite directions gives you that tighter turning radius and really lets you carve up and make those tight turning radiuses easy. Turning the wheels in the same direction to slide diagonally, like a crab walk mode type thing, it's cool that it can do it. I just would never actually do it. It also is a limited top speed. I think it's 25 miles an hour. Seat storage is still here. You can fit things inside these back seats. Who thought of this? I don't know, but there's tons of storage. That's the benefit of a gigantic vehicle. Cool. But also now seeing and knowing how much a 200 kilowatt hour battery weighs and how high the floor is, like having 2 steps to get in, that had me thinking about, remember the Tesla Roadster's announcement back in 2017 or whatever it was, when they said that would have a 200 kilowatt hour battery? I feel like that has to be a very different battery technology than this, because that by itself weighs 3,000 pounds. But hey, while we're back here, living with this giant back seat and removable roof, by the way, all of these come off like I showed in the main channel video, is really not so bad, man. This is a nice truck interior. You also have your controls back here for the AC, which are good. Good knee room, leg room. I might be a little bit shy on headroom because of this pillar thing coming down to take the roof off, but it's not that bad. The rest is also very nice, spacious. So at the end of the day, here's my basic summary of this truck. This is the ROG phone of trucks. Okay, it's absolutely gigantic, bigger than normal. It has way more specs and features than you'll probably ever use, but it's still cool to have them because if you're an enthusiast, that's just what you're into. It has really good range. I mean, the battery in both are huge. The ROG phone's this gigantic 6,000 milliamp hour battery. This huge 200 kilowatt hour battery gives it legitimately very good range. 300 to 330 legitimate miles of range, even with these huge tires and this boat-like structure here. So if you're into that, then that's what you get for $110,000. That's what you get. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. It's the ROG phone. It's excessive, but it's very enthusiastic. It's got the crazy animations in the screen, just like the ROG phone with the gaming features. This is a gamer's truck. There you go. It's a gamer's truck, and it took me a week of living with it to learn that, but I'm not even mad. There it is. That's my thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I've seen you guys, and thanks for the comments on how to improve the quality. I'm in a less windy place, but we'll work on that. See you guys later. Peace.